Hey, Randall.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, nice to see you.
Good to see you. Oh my gosh, I'm tired today. Oh.
Long Saturday?
Well, it's so funny. It's like Friday. I'm so used to being like, yay, the week's over. And then Saturday rolls around and I'm like, oh gosh, it's not over.
What time do you start where you are?
At 4 a.m.
Oh, you're waking up at 4 a.m.
I
on
know. I have to
Saturday.
get up at 3 a.m. So, and
Poor
guess what I did? I'm so bad at math that don't tell anybody else this. I screwed up with the time change and I was all excited about it coming up that we fall back. No, I will be waking up at 1:45. I
Oh
was
my
like, what was
God.
I thinking?
Yeah, that's tricky.
I was
Oh my
teaching the
gosh.
kids. I'm like, Teacher Christine is bad at math. They were all laughing.
That's so funny. In the yesterday we did class, like, so we're doing the trial class training again with the
Yeah.
new coaches, and everybody was talking about the time change, about how it's coming up and how they're going to deal with it and everything like that. And like,
It's,
I don't have that problem anymore.
that's so nice. Oh, I'm jealous.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to be out of there. Hi, Caitlin.
I
Oh, it
see
looks like
her.
Caitlin on the road.
She's on the road in the car. How's the training been going?
Pretty good.
New
Yeah, it's been
coaches are
fun.
great, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them.
And it's really good. Like, I feel lucky to be kind of the first person to get to know all the different coaches, and I kind of like
Yes,
suss everybody out and find their strengths and weaknesses, and then when like I want to get some ideas for something, I know exactly who to go to and asking questions.
totally.
Yeah, Amir set himself up as the new time change
Oh,
daylight savings time guru. He
oh,
specifically
good.
said, I'm no guru at this, but everyone's like, he seems to be able to do the math better than us.
Yeah, yeah. Don't have me do it. I'll have everybody not showing up to class.
Sometimes when I'm trying to help the kids practice saying math equations in English, especially for a champion day, I'll
Yeah,
make a mistake on purpose.
and see
And
if
then
they.
and see if they catch it. They're like, oh, teacher, Randall, you don't know math. I was like, I'm an English teacher, not a math teacher.
I love it when we do something on mistake for. I do it on purpose, like
Yeah.
you. And if they catch it, I'm so excited because I'm like, wow. Because I'll be like, there are 100 fingers on that girl, and they're like, what? You know, they're just so
Yeah.
innocent and cute that kind of joke is a big deal to them.
It's also a great way to check, especially the older kids that you know should get it, just to check if they're paying
Yes.
attention.
Paying attention and like comprehending what we're speaking, because I notice too sometimes I'll get students that are even at a level 2 and they're not reading yet and I'm like, whoa, what are we doing?
Yeah, for sure.
But it's fun to that challenge is fun to get them up to that level. I like love that challenge. So
Yeah.
is there a baby with us? What baby?
Yeah, it's we are at a oh, am I muted? No. We are at a marketing event for my husband's job, so we're sitting in the car to take a training.
Oh, that's so
Hi
cool.
baby.
Thank you for taking the time, Caitlin. That's awesome. I won't bother you too much.
Caitlin,
Just
where are you?
My husband works at he's marketing director for a nursing home that's for patients with Alzheimer's. And today, where I live, they had this huge event. It's called the Walk to End Alzheimer's in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So he has to go meet people.
That's a great cause though. That's a really I just found out that my one grandma has Alzheimer's. She just was diagnosed with it. And it's got to be so difficult for those patients.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
heartbreaking for them. It's so sad.
He meets so many people every day. He knows way more about Alzheimer's than he ever thought when he went into marketing. But yeah.
I bet he's got a big heart if that's who he's working with. That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. He's pretty good.
Aw.
Caitlin, while your little treasure is being quiet and calm, do you have any questions for us that you want to discuss about any challenges you're having?
Yes. I have just started this one new regular class. and the kids are really young, and they're level 1. They're 4, and the one boy's mom, well, he just doesn't really like the class. And I've tried like pulling up funny like pictures and little videos and using puppets and being funny, and I think he would just rather be playing.
Yeah.
And so the mom has kind of complained that I'm boring. All my other regular classes are going really great, but this one is not. And I just think it's because maybe he's so young, I don't know what to do with him.
Okay. But the other students are responding to your efforts?
Yeah. My other classes I think are going really well. I mean, especially my one-on-one classes seem to be a lot better than my one-on-two.
Yeah.
But
so are there other classmates in that same class with the boy?
yes.
Right.
The little girl, I think it's going okay. She's a little distracted by the boy, like running around and making growling sounds and stuff. But she does answer all my questions and smiles, so I think that's going okay. But still hard to engage with both of them when he's doing those things.
All right. Hi, Kelly. Sorry, just as you're taking a
Hi,
sip of water.
Randall. No,
Nice
that's
to see
okay.
you.
It's good to see you too. How are you?
I'm great. I'm happy to see you. Kelly, do you have any suggestions for Caitlin?
For Caitlin. Okay, so I kind of came in at the right in the middle of the story. Like you said, one student is not responding and the parent is like saying you're boring. Is that what I?
Yes.
Yeah. And the other little girl's okay.
Yes.
Caitlin said she's working hard to like get funny, interesting pictures and like bring up interesting topics, and they seem to be working fine with her other student, but this one boy is just not engaging.
Yeah, you know what? Unfortunately, I just feel like that is going to happen. It's a hard balance to find, to be disciplined with that kid and to have fun with that kid, I think. But I think this could be totally off, but I think for children like that, they need fun. Like, I feel like they have to have lots of fun to try to keep them attracted. So I feel like if that's, you have to do that and you lose some education time with him, then I think so be it, as long as you're making sure the other child is getting a sufficient amount of talk time and you're making sure that that other girl is, you know, performing good, is learning vocabulary, things like that. And the other kid, I think he'll eventually want to be good with that girl too. I think. I mean, that's what I found. Like, I have one kid who's just turned 5, and I've had him for I think a year now, and he is just now starting to grow up. He's just now starting to be good, like stay in front of the camera.
Like trying to please a teacher?
Yeah, like he wants to please, like you said, and I found ways, like he loves Paw Patrol. I don't know if your little boy likes Paw Patrol, but yeah, I don't know if he does, but like he likes any sort of emergency, like ambulance and police officers. So I will even get my phone and I'll just be like, Eric, tell me, what word is this? Come in, Eric. And he gets it. Like he loves that. So he'll be like, really, it's a car, an emergency. So even though we're not applying it really to the lesson, he's interacting and he's staying there in the camera. I think that is a win. I haven't gotten any complaints really from the office or from the parents, but I don't know. It's up to you how you feel, I guess.
This little boy likes dinosaurs, so I had like gifts of dinosaurs, like you know, moving and roaring and different things. But I think I'm gonna get like maybe a dinosaur puppet. I don't know, something else with dinosaurs, because that's all he wants to do is roar like a dinosaur at me. And when I ask him his name, he says, "I am dinosaur." Like, okay, like that's great. I'm glad, you know. But then that's all he'll say is like, "I am dinosaur."
Yeah, that sounds like you got a challenge on your hands. I agree with Kelly where, you know, if it seems like it's sort of like the last, like you're either going to salvage this student or he's going to either like leave the program or go to another coach. So I think that playing is definitely more important to engage him at first. And you know, you're playing in English anyway, so it's not as if he's not learning. And you can shorten other parts of the lesson if necessary. Like the learning objectives for level 1 are very focused on vocabulary, and vocabulary is easy if you pre-plan ahead and just like if you make flashcards then and just do them every day, then they're definitely going to get the find my word at the end, and they're going to, like, if the question relays are pretty simple, it's one sentence. The reading is different depending on whether the kids can read or not, but in level 1, if the kids can't read, then it's just about practicing enunciation anyway. So I think that you'll be safe with the learning objectives as long as you're able to bring him into the fold a little bit. I've noticed that little boys are more interested in sound effects, like you said, like roaring like a dinosaur, and physical activities.
Okay.
So if he's not engaging with you, instead of answering yes or no to questions, or like maybe if it was a find my word, instead of saying 1, 2, 3, 4, you could be like quack quack, roar, like quack, like number 1 is quack quack, number 2 is like meow, like a little action, a little noise. It's not the best. It's better for them to be speaking English than making noises, but if that's what'll bring him in, then that might work. I also do, it's tough to find an online game for that age group, but I do a few different games. Usually if you just sort of Google ESL online games, you can find some. But the games with noises and different kind of lights and stuff are the ones that really attract the younger boys, I think. I'll see if I can come up with an example during this lesson, and I'll come back and show you.
Okay.
Hello, Christine. We've got
Hello.
all K-sound women today. This is so interesting. Like Christine, Kelly, and Caitlin.
Cut, Christine.
Hey, cut, Christine. Awesome.
We should call you Randal.
Feel free. Okay, I'm not going to keep you guys all morning long, so let me get started on this presentation. Today we're going to talk about using multimedia in lessons. So we've had some complaints from some parents who think that there's too many videos. In some classes, I'm not saying that everybody needs to reduce. Some people don't use very many videos. So just, this is like, I want to talk about, well, let me show you. I want to talk about videos that are included in lessons, the ones that are already there, sort of as an introduction to each lesson, how we do Master of Stories, how we use Google Images for teaching and rewards, how we use videos for teaching as additional materials, like if you feel like the lesson isn't really bringing home the concept, you can bring in your own videos, and how videos can be used for rewards and breaks. I just started teaching this 4-year-old who doesn't read, and it's like the funnest challenge that I've had for like a year, and I probably do 25 minutes of prep for every 28-minute class right now. I'm still in my first like 3 weeks with this girl, and I haven't taught level 1 for a really long time. So it's really challenging and fun, but also nerve-wracking, because she, like, one class she cried for the first 3 minutes, and another class she just halfway through started just saying no, and she's getting to that point where she knows how to sound out letters but still is kind of like not interested in trying to read. So I take like 30 seconds of every little class to try and get her. So I'm getting a lot of experience right now in using videos and pictures as rewards as well as breaks to enable her to focus a little bit more, because I see her losing her focus. She's doing really well, and then she starts getting answers wrong, and then I'm like, let's color a princess, and she comes back for a few minutes, and then I can take her back to the learning objectives for a little while. So one thing I want to point out is that I definitely don't do all these things all the time. this is sort of like what I think is we should all be working towards in every lesson, and we should try to do it like this, but it's never gonna always exactly be like this. So let's talk about first the videos in lessons. I'm just gonna, can I play this slideshow like a real normal presenter? That would be awesome. Yay. Okay, everybody can see videos in lessons slide? Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so the National Geographic videos. First of all, does everybody know that 31ABC is partnered with National Geographic?
No, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I don't know like on what level the partnership it is, but National Geographic has an ESL program and it's called Our World. So it's DVDs of movies, songs, and like audio recordings and books. So what 31ABC has done is like changed that into, they've used the same learning objectives. They're using the videos. They used to even, like when we first started out, they would scan pages and we would work through the textbook, but now they're making their own material, which is more beautiful and more interactive. So you'll find when you work through the lessons that you'll notice which videos are the National Geographic videos because they're so on point with the lesson. And they're also usually more interactive. So they often have, built-in questions to ask the children. So I've noticed some coaches will just kind of pretend that they never heard that question, where it seems obvious that that is a stopping point. You should stop, pause the movie and ask like, well, what is your favorite food? Because that girl in the video just asked, right? Sometimes I make the mistake of like being all excited about the topic and asking all that question before the video. And then when we get to the video, like, oh, I have nothing to interact with in this video. So the videos with the two girls usually who are sharing, which we do on like Find My Word Day and Question Relay Day and Pack My Bag Day, usually the two girls talking. They have a little conversation and then they ask a question and then they ask you a question, pause the movie and then answer the question. The intro days are super short. They're only like 1 minute long. And then there's not really much you can do with them. Once in a while, I'll think of one question and like, what color is her shirt? Or like, does anybody remember what she said? What is this unit about? Which is something that I've gotten in the habit of always reminding the students and asking them like, what are we studying again? Especially if it's after a weekend and they just know that it's English class. They don't know like, do you remember that we're talking about the classroom now? Let's get back into that mode again. The intro day videos, not very much to interact with, but all the other videos from National Geographic have some kind of automatic interaction that you can just pull from. Another thing that's nice is when they have the animations, which are also National Geographic, they write out the sentences that they're saying. Mm-hmm. So one thing that I've done with kids that can handle it, and this is usually level 1, level 2, is play it once and maybe interact with it a little bit, pause it and ask a question or like ask somebody questions afterwards. But then you can assign different characters in the video and then mute the video, play it again, and then have them read. And so they're basically playing the video for you. Mm-hmm. That's one of the ways that they can interact. Have the students practice sentence structures and vocabulary in the video. That's one of the ways that I do that. Other ways is that I stop the video when the first question is and get them to guess before the answer is coming, get them to guess. Or if it's too hard for them, then I'll run the video once, and then the second time they have to remember what the answers were. Like, what was his favorite toy? His favorite toy is a blah, blah. Hi, Francisco.
Hey, everybody.
Have some testosterone. We're talking about multimedia in lessons, Francisco.
All right.
So other videos require more creativity by the coach to create exercises or conversations about them and incorporate them into lessons. Sometimes you'll watch a video and say, how does that have anything to do with my lesson?
I hate that.
Yeah. So, you know, the simplest thing to do, if you can't think of any way to tie it into the lesson or use it as an introduction, is just to choose like the kind of most medium student in your group and say, what was that video about? And then if they don't know that question yet, then slowly teach them, like use your puppet to, like, you can ask, like for 2 or 3 classes, you can keep asking, what was that video about? And then the puppet will summarize the video, and then the students will start understanding what that question means, and then they'll be able to take over that role. So that kind of brings it in. So what the company really doesn't want to see is that we play a video and then just kind of ignore that we watched a video and continue on with the thing. Videos longer than 2 minutes can be paused and talked about to ensure good attention. That's another one of the challenges of videos, is that you totally lose the kids. There's been reports of kids like getting up and getting a drink during a video because they know that's like chill out, relaxing time. I've also noticed with my own students that sometimes I use the opportunity to make notes, maybe from my last class or from this class, and like kind of catch up on my note making. I notice when I do that, they don't pay attention either. But when I'm like activated and looking at the screen and then like making facial expressions to respond, especially if it's funny or even barely funny, I make a huge deal, like, and then I hear the kids laugh out loud because they want to be cool too.
Yeah.
So I just,
that's true.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that's true. I noticed that sometimes I want to take that video to write a quick note, but they're like watching me. And so if I don't pay attention, they won't,
Exactly. So. Yeah. And sometimes when there's a question, like at the beginning of a song, when they say, hey, everybody, do you like talking about jobs? Do you want to sing a song about jobs? I always talk back to that person in a very overly dramatic, like, yes, I do. And the kids think it's hilarious. And then they start to do it themselves. And then the parents are like, holy moly, my kid loves this English lesson. So thankfully we've got a pretty good example here from Clara, if I can find it, about how to not just skip past the movie. Let's take a look at the first one here.
What do you remember about the story? What can you tell me about the grasshopper?
Okay, so that's a pretty simple question. The story ones are the easiest ones to ask and answer questions to, because the kids are really interested in the story. They especially want to see how it ends. And also stories are natural things to ask questions about, like what did the man do in the story, and like what happened in the end, and who was the good guy or whatever. So she, as soon as the movie finished, she immediately assigned one of the students to tell her like what was the story about. Next one is,
grasshopper are insects. You want to play?
Yes, grasshopper and the ant are insects. And what did the ant do all the time?
The ant is walking all the time.
Yes, the grasshopper wanted to play all the time, and the ant wanted to work all the time. So, is it a bad thing?
all right, let's just look at the last one here.
The entire house, but you clean your room. You pick up your toys. So, and the work that the ant did, what happened at the end?
He's looking at
Does he invite the grasshopper inside?
no. Yes. No.
Look at the grasshopper. Yeah, but the ant says, come in. And so they probably sit down and have coffee or chocolate and have fun, or tea.
Big.
Okay, did you like the story?
Yeah. Yeah.
You did?
I like.
So I like that Clara, okay, so obviously she had the kids summarize, she talked about like the characters of the story, and then talked about the moral of the story, which are all pretty like basic natural ways to talk about stories, and then sort of related it to the kids' experience of like, what kind of work do you do at home? At the beginning of this clip, she was talking about, you clean your house, you clean your room. I also really love that she used the movie, paused, and like moved it along a different thing so that kids weren't just looking at that black screen. And then looked for the answers when the kids didn't know the answer to the question. She found the part that said "come in," so the kids could do a little bit of research and have a chance to answer the question correctly. I think just good interaction with the video in general.
I have a quick question. Oh, thank
Go
you.
ahead. Yeah,
Does
good
anybody
question.
have the problem where at the end of the video it'll say, "Are you ready for a story?" And the kids will be like, "Yeah!" And then there's no more story. Or, "You want a song?" And they're like, "Yeah!" And they jump up, they're ready to sing and dance, and there's nothing.
I usually pause it right before it says it.
Okay, 'cause that's what I've been doing, because I'm like, I know there's not a song after this, and I have students that love singing. So, okay, thank you.
I've heard of other people that like if they know that their kids are going to react to that, then yeah, they will pause it earlier. You can, if you think that should be cut from the video, then you can send like some feedbacks directly to the office. They are always working on new material. They're working on level 1 right now. So like new generations will come after the new level, like the level 0 is the newest. Level 1 will come again, level 2 will come again. So as they go through, they'll be improving it all the time.
Yeah, today there were 2 new green frogs in level 1. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My students, they'll be like, "No story." Like, they'll say like, "It's no story." They know. So
They're all wah
Yeah.
yeah.
I think early on when I had my students, I would explain like, "Oh, we're not going to have a story today. We're having our story on Tuesday." And then sometimes they would even like on Tuesday remember like, "Today's story day." So that's another way to deal with it.
Yeah.
So it's important to monitor your students for attention. Just keep an eye on them and we'll see what's going on. Make sure they're not losing focus. And especially if you don't see the whites of their eyes, then they're not watching the screen. And in order to get them back, especially older kids that know better and they're just deciding not to pay attention, challenge them with questions that they weren't expecting. Like just pause in an unnatural place and say, "What's that boy's name?" Like, "Well, oh, you weren't paying attention? Okay, make sure you pay attention because the next time you won't get a star or something." I don't know. Not that we can really, I don't know, we don't have anything to punish them with. But
I say for 10 stars, if you can tell me the name of the boy, you'll get 10 stars. And they're like, "Oh my God."
And they can't remember what it is. Songs bring together important aspects of the learning objectives of the unit. Find the best way for your students in each class to learn from them. So it's not necessary to teach all your students all the songs. If they do like singing, thank God, because it is a really powerful teaching material, teaching method, especially in this, because all of the learning objectives are there in the song. Maybe not all the vocabulary, but definitely the sentence structures. Did you want to say something, Kelly? Sorry.
Oh no, I just said I was going to help you out. I think maybe you're looking for the word tool.
Oh, thank you. That is the word. I am a tool. That's what I was looking for. Yes. Thank you.
I find that the songs kind of help them pronounce correctly too. Like they have to pronounce it to be on the right tune.
I think my internet might be bad.
Uh-oh. No.
I can still hear you.
I can hear her too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe she's gonna duck out for a minute. Yeah, so songs are really, if the children are not interested in songs, there's always going to be kids who don't like certain things, and sometimes you kind of have to push them through because you know this is necessary for the level. One way that I get older students, I've drilled my older students to explain to me what their problem is with the songs and why they refuse to sing them, and they say, "It's for babies." So in level 4, 12-year-old, especially if it's a boy and there's anybody else in the class, it's really difficult to get them to sing a song. But so with those boys, I will play the video and then, so I started off making fill in the blank questions for them for the song. So like, what was the girl said like creativity, electricity, creativity changes the world. What changes the world? At the end of the song, I'll ask them to fill in the blank. And now that they're used to that format, now they have to ask each other questions. So before the song starts, I'm like, okay, everybody listen really carefully, because at the end of the song, you have to ask your classmate 3 questions. And they get it, and they listen carefully, and they're ready at the end. So I'm always impressed with how well that they can focus when they're given a task ahead of time. You can mute the video and discuss it while it runs in the background, especially if you're asking them to summarize and they can't really remember, or just want to have something for them to look at, or if you want the next kid to be starting to get ideas, keep it on mute and run it in the background. That makes it a little more interesting. Master of Stories. So this is, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because some of the newer coaches were not really sure how to use it. And I think it's harder in level 2, because I think in level 2 it's not divided into these beautiful little sections with 2 or 3 words under each. It's sort of like a lot of pictures that are not necessarily in the story, and then a lot of words at the bottom. So here's the official way to teach a Master of Stories. Before the start of class, check to see if the video is in the lesson or not, because sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. So make sure you have it downloaded from YouTube, and they do recommend downloading it instead of playing it from YouTube for reasons like sometimes there's ads on YouTube, sometimes it'll just like skip to like all of a sudden now you have to listen to a 2-minute ad for Netflix, and you just have to like pause the screen and try to keep busy for something else, or sometimes there's little pop-ups or whatever. Yeah, it's just noise, just extra noise from YouTube, so it's better if you can download it. Plan ahead for the pacing of the rest of the lesson, as Masters of Stories can take a longer time than other missions. If I'm not sure how long my Masters of Stories is going to last, I'll skip the simple missions. So I'll start with a video at the beginning, and then I'll talk to them about the unit topic, and then I'll say, oh, you guys are so lucky we get to watch another movie. And sometimes I'll show them the Master of Stories first, the pictures that they're going to talk about, so they remember what the point of this exercise is, and then while they're watching the movie they can start planning about telling me what it's about. So that's how I pace a class if I'm not sure how long it's going to take. I'll do the Master of Stories first, and then I'll go back to the simple missions in the middle and be able to, because you can't cut Master of Stories short, so you got to complete it. Show the movie, pausing when necessary to ask questions or give explanations. Some stories you don't need to play the whole thing in order for them to get what it's about, especially if they've seen the movie before, or if it's super, super long. Like there's one Master of Stories that's 8 minutes long, and I've just never been able to fit it into a class. So I'll play the first 4 minutes and then like skip to the end where the grandma died, just so that they get that the grandma dies at the end. Yeah, it's a sad one. It's cute though, actually. So sometimes you get to know your kids, and you get to judge when you look at the movie. You're like, are they going to understand this movie? Are they going to get the point? Are they going to understand the moral of the story? Sometimes you need to talk more than the movie. Sometimes you can even pause the movie and talk over it, like, now this boy is doing this, now this boy is doing this, to make it easier on them once you get to the end and it's their turn. Make sure they've really understood what's happened. Go to the slide after the movie, go to the slide with the pictures, tell them to retell the story. If it's too difficult, don't push them into this wall that they can't climb. Just have them describe the pictures. And because otherwise they're going to start really hating that part of the lessons. And every time they hear Master of Stories, they're going to go, oh, I hate this one. So instead of pushing them to do something that's too hard, and especially on those stories where maybe it's like a trailer for a movie that doesn't really tell the story, and they maybe have never seen the movie, make it easy on them and say, well, like, just tell me what you see in the picture. Okay, the girl is holding a flower. Okay, what's happening in picture number 2?
Randall,
yeah.
I have only come across a lesson showing Master of Stories once at level 3. So far, I'm into the second unit of level 2 and level 1, and I've never seen Master of Stories in any of those lessons.
I think there isn't Master of Stories in level 1. I think it's just,
okay.
I think it starts in level 2, and they might not be in the first unit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's just once per unit in level 2, and then twice per unit in level 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think level 1 too, if I may, I think level 1 is also, don't they do like just little stories, and then they have to fill in the sentences as that day? Is that what is that level?
We make a story, yeah. It's like pictures, and you so it's kind of building up to the Master of Stories for level 2, so that they'll learn how to take words and place them into their ideas.
Well, and I've started doing that. I have two really bright kids that are in level 2, my nature world in level 1, and they finished the lesson early. So in my expanded PowerPoint slides, we talk about what's a grassland, and then we have a fill in the blank sentence that they do, and what's a forest and stuff like that. So I'm glad to hear that's preparing them for a Master of Stories.
Like it was planned out. Who knew?
Telepathy.
So the best case scenario, if the words provided, especially in the ones where it's like a picture and then 2 or 3 words underneath, if they are at the appropriate level, and I consider appropriate level where the kids know 80% of the words, so that they only have to raise their hand and ask for help like 2 out of every 10 words. And that's a great way also of them asking you for help and you teaching them a new word, because sometimes they know all the vocabulary of the unit before you even start the unit. So the Master of Stories sometimes adds that additional challenge that you need. So in best case scenario, the kids understand the story, the words provided are at the appropriate level. It encourages students to incorporate them and use them into sentences and conjugate the verbs. Like they don't have to necessarily match, like use that exact word. If the word is sleep, they can say she is sleeping or she slept. Try to keep them in their verb tenses. Like they can choose their verb tense, but make sure they stick to it. If the words are too difficult, like if they know less than half of the words or half of the words, then it's going to take the whole lesson to get through the Master of Stories if you're going to tell them what every single word means so that they can use it in a sentence. So you can just get them to use their own words. Like, oh, don't worry. Like if you can use a word, do it. If you can't, I have some students that are able to do that. They can pick out the words that they know and use them and ignore the other ones. I have some students, it bothers them so much to see a word that they don't know and there's 20 of them on the screen. I just draw a white box over them so they can't see all those difficult words, and I say, tell me the story, and then they're not stressed out about it. Add new words. They can learn to a list of words that you can review on days 6 and 8. So if you do go through the process of teaching them a few words on the Master of Stories day, make sure to jot them down and come back to it later so that they can actually add it to their vocabulary. Otherwise those words are just going to disappear because they don't happen anywhere else in the unit. All right, I've got an example of Master of Stories here. But I'm going to skip it right now because I just want to make sure that we get through all of our stuff and get through all of our questions. I might come back and show you the video later. Let's talk about the images.
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to go. I've held him in the car as long as I can. I'll watch the video for the rest.
Thanks for coming, Caitlin.
Thank you, Randall.
Bye, Caitlin.
Take care.
Bye.
I know exactly how he feels. It's 10:30 and I haven't even had a cup of coffee.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so again, I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation that this is the best case scenario that I'm mentioning, what we should try to do. I don't do this all the time, but this is how the Google Images ought to be used. It's used to mentally tie the words to pictures and concepts rather than the children translating from English and Chinese mentally. I remember when I first started using Rosetta Stone, they had this big presentation when they first came out about how like our teaching system is so different because instead of saying like car, gari, like and giving you 2 words to try to memorize, they show you a picture and then you kind of internalize it and you start thinking in that language. So that's really why Google Images is part of our program, so that we can get into their heads instead of having them think, trying to remember what the Chinese and the English words are. They can remember what, like they see a car, they think car. Use it as often as possible. It really helps make the lessons more interactive and engaging. Use it to explain new words, obviously, to test recall of previous learned words. This is really important too, because sometimes when we work on the vocabulary and find my words, they're just memorizing that one picture. And that might not show the whole concept of the word. So they might be able to answer the word correctly and find my word, but still not know really what that word means. So on a review day, especially maybe day 6 or day 11, or on a day that you finished your stuff early, you can just like maybe have a list of the more difficult words that you want to test them on and pause share. Don't let them see what you're typing because the smart ones will just read what the word is. So I'll give you an example right here. So I'll go into Google Images and I'll do like flying. This is all during pause share, and then I'll go like this so that I hide all the words, and then I share the screen. And then I say, what are these planes doing? And then they have to say flying. And then and this is also something that can be prepared before class. If you have 5 or 6 words, let's say they're all verbs. Let's do flying, sewing, cooking. So now you can use the back button. So, and it's sort of like Google flashcards now. So like, what's this? Cooking. What's this? Sewing. What's this? Flying. Oh, you should hide the words before you do all that. So then you can use like the back and forward buttons as like flashcards, and it makes it, especially at the end of a lesson, it's nice. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. To keep it clean, be sure to always have Safe Search turned on, obviously, and pause the screen to review the pictures before showing them. I think everybody knows that. Is there anybody who doesn't understand what I'm talking about?
I know how to do it, but I hate doing it. It screws everything up with Zoom. So I try to just preload everything, because otherwise, if I get mine, if it does screw up on Zoom, I have to completely shut my laptop and do a manual power off. So, and I always feel weird going, okay, I'll be right back. See you in a minute. They're like, well, where are you going? You know? So, yeah, I try not to do that. Is it mandatory that we do that?
It's suggested. I mean, if your other option is to restart your system, then I can understand why you would not. Maybe in your case, Christine, you should only be showing images that you've previously Googled. You know,
preloaded. Okay.
Yeah. Either preloaded or like. Sorry, what'd you say, Francisco?
Maybe just download them.
Yeah. Good idea.
Also, I find like when I'm teaching repetitive lessons, like I've already taught this lesson a few times and I know which words that are going to come up. I remember specific phrases that I can Google, and I know what the Google images are going to come up. So if you know it's safe, it's fine.
Yeah.
Or like we've talked about before, like using the words cartoon, clip art, kids and children, that will increase the chances of cleanliness.
Okay.
Except for Peppa Pig, apparently.
I missed that one, but I Googled Peppa Pig today and mine was all clean. So
I did it during that presentation and I couldn't find any problems, but it was funny what we
Randal, I think you're right. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, you just never know. It changes. I'm sure they change the pictures every day, you know, or
Well, I think if you're networked too in your house and your entire house networked, if people are searching on their stuff, it depends.
Are you telling me you have some pervert in your family that's looking at dirty pictures of Peppa Pig?
I hope not. I have one person in my household, so if anything nasty comes up, I know where it's coming from.
Oh, well.
And it's my husband, so.
To each their own.
It's funny.
So this is something that Christine actually brought up, Christine with a K, is teaching adjectives and opposites through Google Images using the word versus. That's very helpful. Mm-hmm. And it's also really good to use Google Images as a background, sort of like as a visual aid to what the kids are talking about, especially maybe in a warm-up when you get them into a little bit of a conversation and they tell you what they did on the weekend. My kids know that if they went to Disneyland or the museum or any sort of like place that I know is going to have a website, or if they went to the Maldives or they went to France, or they always going on vacation to fancy places, then I'm going to bring up different pictures, and then they'll remember like, oh yeah, and I went there, the Eiffel Tower, the Awful Tower, and then I correct them. And it's like just more chances to learn, and it kind of encourages them because they feel like they're in control a little bit, and you're just doing this background. You're like their tech helper, becoming the visual aid to their speeches. Okay, images and videos for rewards and breaks. And like I said, I'm just learning how to use breaks and to capture the attention of a 4-year-old. So this is what I've come up with. It can be a special treat to control what images they see in class. It's not their right to see what images they demand, but it is a reward that you can offer to them when they get a certain number of stars. And you can tell them early in class, today, when you get 5 stars, you can see a picture. Use it as a teaching opportunity to have them use whatever kind of question or statement that you want them to use in order to demand their picture. I would like to see a picture of a blah, blah, blah. Or I want to see this, or depending on their level, you can make it a little bit more, more difficult. You can steer them towards learning objectives by modeling something to do with the unit topic. So this is something that I do with my most sharp kids. And I will I let them see a picture when they get 5 stars, but I keep them on topic. So I ask my monkey first what picture he wants to see, and he wants to see something according to the topic. And you can usually find something funny or interesting that they'll be like, well, I want to see the same thing, but with a different animal. So like I just thought about maybe a classroom unit. You could say, I want to see an elephant using a pencil, or I want to see a monkey in a classroom, something like that. And that also spurs their creativity. Videos can be used as rewards too. Again, it's better when it's related to the topic of the unit, but video rewards need to be short. You can break up a 2-minute video into 3 different reward sessions, and that kind of also gets them more motivated to get the stars and get through any kind of material that they might not be motivated to do when they know, like, I really want to see how that movie ends, or like the end of the song or something like that. Whenever possible, use the reward as a teaching opportunity. And I am going to show this one because who was it that mentioned using Mr. Bean the other day in our WeChat? Does anybody remember? It was such a fluke. Just the next day after somebody mentioned using Mr. Bean as a reward video, one of my kids literally asked, can we see Mr. Bean instead? Like, oh, I'm not sure if I've ever shown him Mr. Bean or if he just came up with that on his own. But let's take a look. So this is kind of an extreme example of how to continue to really teach, even though this is supposed to be a fun reward. I just was cramming English into their brains. That's my teaching style, cramming. Okay, let me find it. We're on minute 20 here. And I think I found your Mr. Bean movie. Now, here's what we're going to do. We'll watch 10 seconds of Mr. Bean, and then you have to tell me what you see. Here we go. I think Top goes first. Are you ready, Top?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Oh, I know.
Okay, Top, tell us. What did you see? What's happening?
Mr. Bean says his thought today is his birthday.
Ooh, it's his birthday. Do you agree with that, Elsa?
Yes.
Okay, let's. Do you want a picture or do you want to see Mr. Bean?
Mr. Bean.
All right, 10 more seconds of Mr. Bean. Okay, Elsa, what happened?
Mr. Bean told the people who bought milk that today is his birthday.
Okay, and what did he do with his body?
He just points that is what is this? December. Oh,
Balloons.
Oh, he point the balloons and look at the people who bought milk, and the people who bought milk didn't know what it means, and then he went into the house.
Okay, nice description, Elsa. Now, you said he showed the people, or he talked to the people. How many people were there?
1 or 2? 1.
1 people? Many people, 1 person. 1 person, many people. Do you understand?
Yes.
Just like 1 man, many men, 1 child, 1 children. When there's only 1, you'll just say person and not people. Now, everybody look at this picture. I see December 1993. What is that? What is this big thing?
December.
Yeah, what do you call this thing that's on the wall here? What is that called? Here's a clock. And here's a
Clock.
calendar.
Calendar clock.
Yeah. Not a calendar clock, just a calendar. This is a calendar.
Calendar.
On the left is a clock. Now, what day is it? What's the date?
It is Saturday.
What's the date? Yes, it is Saturday. You're right. What's the date?
It is December the 31 December.
December 31st. That's a special day. What day is that?
The last
The
day.
last day of
December.
the last day of the year. That's
1993.
New Year's Eve. That's why they're celebrating. Maybe it's his birthday too, but usually people love to celebrate on. So yeah, that's self-explanatory.
Do you think that since they celebrate their Chinese New Year's during Spring Festival, maybe it's a cultural thing? Maybe they don't celebrate New Year's? I don't really know.
At this point, they've done a unit that includes New Year's Eve.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think they do, like, because the calendar does turn over, it is sort of recognized, though it's not a holiday, I think is the deal. Any questions at this point? Okay. So that is sort of like my most strict form of reward. Like, you can laugh for 10 seconds and then I'm going to make you speak a lot of English. So not all kids can take that amount of like questioning on their reward video, but that was, that's what I kind of shoot for. That way the kid isn't quiet for a long time because parents prefer less videos in class. Use them sparingly. The goal is for them to speak as much as possible. Nobody talks while they're watching a video. Younger children need breaks sometimes, in which case you can set aside the unit topic and not be cramming English down their throat and just let them like literally like forget about what they were doing for a second and laugh and enjoy and say whatever, and not keep like trying to teach them for a minute. Monitor their behavior and the level of attention to see when that's necessary. So it's just like constantly checking their mood and their temperature. Like, when do I need to give them a little break and give them a little bit of happiness? You can switch the topic to one of their personal interests, like Kelly recommended Paw Patrol, and show pictures, do games and videos. Videos for teaching. So before, like a long time ago, when I think I'd been teaching at 31abc for like 2 or 3 months or something, there was a teacher who just could not get it. She had been working with other Chinese online agencies for years. She had like 6 or 7 years on her resume, but she didn't understand the teaching philosophy of this company and how talking was the most important thing. And she would play 21-minute videos that she had been playing because she was an ESL teacher from way back, and she used the same videos that she used to use, and they're like I can't remember what they were called, like House of Rock, Schoolhouse Rock. Do you guys remember those? Like,
oh, I love Schoolhouse Rock, but they're long.
They're awesome, but they're like not what kids are used to these days as far as like pomp and circumstance at all.
Yeah.
And also long, and like if you don't break it up. So she was like using that as a lesson, and parents were not responding at all because they could just download those videos themselves if they wanted their kids to watch movies all day. So if you're going to use videos as additional materials, it should be for a reason, because it's not easily shown in a Google image as something they have to move. Verbs and adjectives, for example, just nouns are basically the easiest things to show. Sometimes students are unfamiliar with a concept that they will not be able to grasp until with the unit material alone. This is really where you have a kid that's a little bit lower than the level that you're teaching, and there's something that is assumed that they already understand and they don't. Videos for teaching should be chosen based on their ability to help children understand their learning unit objectives. Although, remember that you can also add your own learning objectives on the side. I have some kids that are just in our unit, they know all the words already. So we're just practicing. And then I have a totally different set of learning objectives in every unit. For example, like one unit, we're doing verbs. The next unit, we're doing nouns. The next unit, we're doing other parts of speech, irregular verbs, past tense, all those kind of like ESL hurdles that you have to jump over, especially if you want to get them to answer the Champion Day questions correctly. So it's okay to show videos that are not related to the topic, but have a reason and write it in the report. And then the parent is more likely to be accepting of it. They should be short, used for a specific reason. Okay, so I just wanted to give an example of one video that I really don't use videos very often, but I did really need one. Fortunately, well, I don't have this as much anymore, but I do have 3 classes that are all learning at the same pace in the same level, same unit, same level, same lesson every day. So I get to teach the lesson over and over and over, and the last kids to get my lesson that day are like getting the best of it because I've had 2 practices already. And I tried, I had taught the unit twice already, and then I had this new sort of generation of kids coming through, and I knew that I had no way to teach them the word biodegradable.
Composition of biodegradable waste. We are now going to understand the difference between biodegradable.
So the thing that I like about it is that it's short and it's easy to understand. The thing I don't like about it is her accent. So I let them listen to her introduction, and then I muted it. And then I told them what was going on. Like, oh, what are they putting in there? They're putting soil, cloth, soil. Oh, now they're putting plastic. Biodegradable. Everybody say biodegradable. Biodegradable. Now, what did they put now? They put water. I wonder what's going to happen, and how long will they wait? 1 month. Okay, let's see what happened after 1 month, and then I would pause the video and say, what do you think happened to the cloth? What do you think happened? So I sort of took over the video with my own voice and made it a little bit more interactive by bringing them into it. But yeah, sometimes videos are the only way to help an ESL student get a concept. We've only got 3 minutes left. I'd like to show this Master of Stories example because it's in our to-do list, but I just want to ask if there's any questions before we continue.
Randall, do you know when they're going to do the level 0 Excel spreadsheet? Because the one that they have for level 1 through whatever that has the vocabulary, the goals, the themes, I use all the time, and I send some of that information to the parents. And I wish I had the same information for level 0.
I haven't heard any information on it, and I also haven't taught level 0 yet. But what I think is going on is that level 0 is not so much based on the learning objectives of the National Geographic.
Okay.
And those Excel spreadsheets are brought right out of their content. Which
okay.
Yeah.
Also,
so
I don't know, Christine, if you
get that.
want to order, but it's the Oxford Phonics World. So I just went ahead and ordered my own so that I have what they're doing for homework every night as well. So I kind of understand like how they're writing the letters, how they're, the activities, and it comes with 2 discs that have extra songs and flashcards on it. So yeah, and then there's also like cut out sight words, cut out sight letters. It's pretty cool. So it's very useful.
Thank you. That would be very helpful. I've gotten a lot of books and stuff and fun things to do with them, but I don't know. I say, show me your homework. One kid shows me the page that they're supposed to, and the other is who knows where.
At this point, when I say, did you do your homework? If they say yes, I'm like, sweet.
Yeah,
And then we
yeah,
get ready, go. Like
I
that's
know.
like, but yeah, it's very helpful. And I think the parents like to see that we have the textbook
Yeah.
and that we're kind of like a teacher that has it. And there's a teacher's edition too. That's really nice. It gives you how to actually use the level 0 material more efficient in class.
Was it very expensive?
I think it was $20 on Amazon.
Okay.
And I think you can order it used too. So it would
Oh,
be cheaper.
honey, I always order it used.
That's what I like to do. So
That's okay. I have a student who every class makes me a new origami thing. So I decided that I should learn how to do origami. I've been telling her I would do it, and I have no time. Finally today I said, I ordered it on Amazon. Sometime next week it will come and I will do one for you.
oh, they'll love it. I had one
Yeah.
trying to teach me origami and she kept saying, Christine, you're just awful. I know. I'm sorry. I can't do it. But then I taught her how to do a snowflake. So that was,
Oh, hey, evened out.
yes.
All right, I'm not going to take up any more of your time with any more videos, but I will be posting the videos and this PowerPoint presentation on the WeChat, so you guys can take a look if you'd like.
Great.
And you're going to send the PowerPoint in email?
Do you usually receive it by email?
I wish I did.
So you don't?
I've received them by email before. I've received different PowerPoints from different training reading
Linda,
videos.
yeah, Linda usually does a PowerPoint email. You can
Okay.
specifically
I'll
text her.
specifically ask Linda for you.
Yeah, because WeChat is tiny and it's not the best way for me to look
Do you
at
have
it.
WeChat on your computer, Christine?
No, I only have it on my phone.
I find it's really helpful to have it on your computer, especially when
Yes.
you have to notify that there's nobody in your class that day.
Oh, I have to do that by phone. I didn't know that I could put it on my computer. So I
makes
am a
things a lot
little WeChat challenged.
Oh.
Now I'll put it on my computer too. Okay.
And like I think just in general, like a lot of the file sharing that goes on in the company is on WeChat, so you might be
Yes,
missing
I
out if you
know.
don't get a computer, yeah. Cool. Okay, thanks everybody for coming.
Thanks,
and
Randal.
we'll do something like this again next Saturday with a new topic, but I'll announce it before we come.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.